Welcome to worship with Eliot Unitarian Chapel. Wherever you're tuning in from, near or far, we're so glad that you're here. I am Eliot's lead minister, the Reverend Barbara Gadon, and I hope that this is a service that nurtures your spirit. If you are new to Eliot Chapel, we are an intentional community that welcomes all races, genders, and all sexual orientations. We welcome people of all creeds and beliefs, all economic circumstances, and all types of families. Our vision is to create a just world through vibrant, beloved community. If you would like to connect with us and learn more about our congregation, please look for information at the end of the service. Our service this first week of the new year has a ritual of letting go and setting intentions for the coming year. To participate, you will need a few sheets of paper, a pencil, or a pen. We gather on the edge of a new year, saddened by our losses, cherishing our joys, aware of our failures, and mindful of days gone by. We gather on the cusp of this new year, eager to begin anew, hopeful for what lies ahead, promising to make changes, anticipating tomorrows and tomorrows. We invite you to join our celebration of life, knowing that life includes good and bad, endings and beginnings. Come, let us worship. We'll now light the chalice, which is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May its light shine for us a path of joy and peace.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Okay, so this story is called A New House. The road went up a steep hill, and Grasshopper climbed to the top. He found a large apple lying on the ground. "I will have my lunch," said Grasshopper. He ate a big bite of the apple. "Oh, look what you did," said a worm who lived in the apple. "You have made a hole in my roof." "It is not polite to eat a person's house," said the worm. I'm sorry," said Grasshopper. And just then the apple began to roll down the road to the other side of the hill. "Oh, stop me! Catch me!" cried the worm. But the apple was rolling faster and faster. "Help! My hand is bumping on the walls! My dishes are falling off the shelf!" cried the worm. Grasshopper ran after the apple. "Oh, everything's a mouse in here!" cried the worm. "My bathtub is in the living room. My bed is in the kitchen." Grasshopper kept running down the hill, but he could not catch the apple. "I'm getting dizzy," cried the worm. My floor is on the ceiling. My attic is in the cellar." And the apple rolled and rolled and rolled. It rolled all the way down to the bottom of the hill. The apple hit a tree. Bam! And it smashed into 100 pieces. "Oh, too bad, worm," said Grasshopper. "Your house is gone." The worm climbed up the side of the tree. "Oh, never mind," said the worm. "It was old, and it had a big bite in it anyway. This is a fine time for me to find a new house." Grasshopper looked up into the tree. He saw that it was filled with apples. Grasshopper smiled, and he went on down the road. May your new year be sweet and full of good changes and trees full of apples. The end. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. If you wish to, you may plant your feet flat on the floor. Straighten your spine. Close your eyes and follow your breath. And hear these words by my friend Amanda Poppy. My friends, we have arrived. We are here in this new year. We have crossed the boundary of time from the bittersweet last year to this year, which will also be bittersweet. Let us pause for just this moment before we move boldly onward. Let us pause to hear the breathing in the room in which we find ourselves, even if it is only our own good breath. It is presence. It is life. Let us pause to consider the trees, their branches stripped bare, their elegant architecture on display. Let us pause to feel the spirit of life and love that ties us to all living creatures, that winds its way through our very bones and settles in our hearts. Before we move forward with tremendous hopes for the coming year and the healing of the world, let us notice what it is that remains every year, every day, what exists beyond world events, beyond time. It welcomes us to life, not just at the start of the year, but every day. And let us answer, Amen.
The Camels Speak by Lynn, Ungar. Of course, they never consulted us. They were wise men, kings, star readers, and we merely transportation. They simply loaded us with gifts and turned us toward the star. I ask you, what would a king know of choosing presents for a child? Had they ever even seen a baby born to such simple folk? So naked of pretension, so open to the wind? What would such a child care for perfumes and gold? Far better to have asked one born in the desert, tested by wind and sand. We saw what he would need, the gift of perseverance, of continuing on the hard way, making do with what there is, living on what you have inside. The gift of holding up under a burden, of lifting another with grace, of kneeling to accept the weight of what you must bear. Our footsteps could have rocked him with the rhythm of the road, shown him comfort in a harsh land, the dignity of continually moving forward. But the wise men were not wise enough to ask. They simply left their trinkets and admired the rustic view. Before you knew it, we were turned again toward home, carrying men only half willing to be amazed. But never mind. We saw the baby, felt him reach for the bright tassels of our gear. We desert amblers have our ways of seeing what you chatterers must miss. That child at heart knows something about following a star. Our gifts are given. Have no doubt. His life will bear the print of who we are.
We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night. Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns the deity nigh. Prayer and praising all are raising, worship God most high. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night. Myrrh is mine, its bitter perfume breathes a life of gathering gloom, sorrowing, sighing, bleeding, dying, sealed in the stone-cold tomb. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night. Born a babe on Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again. Love forever ceasing, never in our hearts to reign. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through this perfect night.
Well, it's all a fraud, all of it. Jesus was not born on December 25th. The three kings did not arrive at the stable on January 6th, the day of Epiphany. And you have to wonder why Joseph and Mary would still be there anyway. And the new year does not begin on January 1st. I know. All of these dates are artificial, linked to mystical and metaphorical stories. And yet it is all true, all of it. As the novelist Virginia Woolf once said of her craft, nonfiction is about facts. Fiction is about truth. It is in stories that we learn the real truth about our lives. And it is in rituals that reenact these stories that help us remember those truths and remind ourselves of the ideals that we strive toward in our search for truth. This week, we come together to share a ritual called Coffin and Cradle, created many years ago by the Reverend Barbara Child, and this service was written by the Reverend Roberta Finkelstein. The ritual gives us a way to introduce spiritual depth to the celebration of the new year, which tends to be, at least in normal years, a light, frivolous, and sometimes excessive celebration, if you want to call it that. This year, I think we are especially in need of ritual because we have been so eager to see the old year disappear in the rearview mirror. The Coffin and Cradle is appropriate to the new year in that it is an opportunity to begin anew, the true invitation of the turning of the year. We need to know that the new year will come. We need to know that the Coffin and Cradle will appear and invite us, coax us, even compel us to do some of the ongoing work that needs doing in order for us to maintain our sense of spiritual health and wholeness. The Sabbath was made for humankind, Jesus said, and not humankind for the Sabbath. That man, Jesus, whose non-birthday we just celebrated a week ago, was pretty smart about all things religious and about the people who crave and create all things religious. Our rituals emerge out of our needs, like the need to let go, the need to let go of all old hurts and resentments that have become burdens that weigh us down, to let go of guilt and regret for the things that we did or said, or things that went unsaid or undone. There is no magic to this. It is part of a process. If we are in need of forgiveness, we still need to ask it and to make amends. But once that is done, we also need a way to acknowledge that the work has been done and that lingering regret is not healthy. If we have been hurt by someone else, we do not pretend that in an instant it is okay. We still need to work through the pain, protect ourselves from further damage, and establish firm boundaries of safety. But once that is done, we need a way to acknowledge that the work has been done and that lingering resentment is not healthy.
In Blackwater Woods by Mary Oliver, look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light, are giving the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of ponds. And every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this: the fires and black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, let it go.
So, as we seek together to cross, each in our own way, the river of loss whose other side is salvation, let us support each other as we become present to this symbol of loss, the coffin. There have been so many losses this year around the world. The coffin is also a symbol of respect for the dead. A haunting image from 2020 is the sheer number of plain boxes housing the dead, not necessarily coffins, just boxes, buried together and many anonymously. So many people could not be with their family members to view a coffin being lowered into the ground. Let us take a moment to honor all of these losses and to offer the respect for the worth and dignity of every soul. In our ritual today, let the coffin be present to us and let us be present to whatever we might bury in it. Remember that this is a chance to let go of the past, to dismantle sorrow while keeping the best of what was. This is a chance to cast off old skins, to move out of a place where you have been stuck, to shed a dream that was not destined to come true, to drop a parcel that is too heavy to keep carrying, to break a tie that binds too tightly, to acknowledge an ending that has already happened. It is an opportunity to let go. Letting go is not always easy. In fact, it is often quite painful. But the long-term fruit is a lighter, healthier way of being in the world. I invite you now to spend a few moments contemplating what you wish to let go of and put into your coffin. Now, what to do with it? You've got your piece of paper, you've got the things that you've written. Maybe you've even found a little box or something to put it in. If we were all together, we would put it in one large container like this. But I do recommend that you do something with it, that you destroy it in some way. Now, you can burn it. And if you're going to do that, I recommend going outside and using something like a cast iron pan or a skillet. You can vary it if you have a place. I don't. You can rip it up or shred it. I like the sound of the shredder because I just like the shredder because of the sound that it makes. And one more thing, whatever you wrote down, a word of caution, be sure to really let it go. A few years ago, we were sharing this ritual in worship or a variation on it. And we used this kind of special dissolving paper. We wrote our things on this little paper that was supposed to dissolve in water. And so everybody came up and put their piece of paper in the water, and you watch the ink just sort of spread out and go away. And so when we were done, I took the bowls of this and made this sort of slurry. It didn't quite disappear. And I took the bowls of slurry and went out the back door to dump it out. And I flung it, and to my dismay, I saw tiny flakes of paper had splashed back on my shoes and my pant legs. I thought, well, I don't want it. Friends, you don't want it either. So do everything you can to get rid of it.
We have a long-standing tradition at Eliot Chapel of sharing our Sunday collection with an organization in our community. And this month, we're sharing our plight with the Meacham Park Neighborhood Improvement Association. Meacham Park is a predominantly African-American community in Kirkwood. Even before Meacham Park was annexed to Kirkwood in the 90s, an intentionally diverse group of Meacham Park and Kirkwood residents formed to advocate for Meacham Park. And Eliot Chapel has long ensured that we have one of our members at the table so that we are always ready to lend a hand and to be part of the solution. When I asked Harriet Patton, president of the association, what it meant for our congregation to make this long-standing commitment, this is what she shared.
It would be a blessing from heaven. A blessing. Because we don't have any church that said we will commit to doing that.
The Neighborhood Improvement Association offers college scholarships and many programs for students, such as a STEM workshop in the spring, Pride in the Park in the summer, school supplies in the fall, and they sponsor 20 families at Christmas. But this has been a very difficult year for Meacham Park. We know that COVID-19 has hit the Black community harder than anyone else, and so has the resulting economic hardship. Their well-loved Martin Luther King event usually pays for most of their programs, and it has been canceled. So we at Eliot Chapel have decided to step up our game. Our goal is to raise $3,000 through our shared plate this month for the Meacham Park Neighborhood Improvement Association, and this will help them continue to serve Meacham Park families, as they always have. I'll let President Harriet Patton have the last word.
And our slogan is to come together, work together, but stay together. And I want to share that with you, your congregation, and know that is evidence in the things we do and not just the things we say. I look forward to seeing you again in the future. I look forward to sharing positive outcomes and positive joining together with that same triangle. Come together, work together, stay together.
In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan, worsted hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long
We are approaching the Feast of the Epiphany, Three Kings Day. The word epiphany means manifestation. Specifically, it means manifestation of divine being. When the three Zoroastrian astrologers set off on their journey in pursuit of the star, they did not know what they would find. They knew only that it was important to seek it. But when they arrived at the stable, the story tells us, it became obvious to them. It was made manifest that what they had found was concrete evidence of God's intention. Artists over the centuries have depicted this experience as one of serene awe. The stable is a beautiful and peaceful place. The baby sleeps undisturbed as the parents sit by and gaze in love and wonder. Now, I have to tell you, when I was growing up and I heard the song, "O Little Town of Bethlehem," and it came to the lyrics, "The little Lord Jesus, no crying he makes," I thought that was literally true. I thought that this was a kid who never cried. True story. But that's the way that it was depicted in all of these songs and paintings and descriptions. And you have the kings offering their unlikely gifts and then turning and beginning their long journey home, touched and grateful. But that is not a likely way for anybody to receive a real epiphany. The point, after all, of an epiphany is to shake things up, to turn your world upside down. Why else would the divine bother to make itself manifest? T.S. Eliot describes that experience in his poem, The Journey of the Magi.
The Journey of the Magi by T.S. Eliot. A cold coming we had of it, just the worst time of year for such a journey, and such a long journey. The ways deep and the weather sharp, the very dead of winter. The camels galled, sore-footed, refractory, lying down in the melting snow. There were times we regretted the summer palaces on slopes, the terraces, and the silken girls bringing sherbet. Then the camelmen cursing and grumbling and running away, and wanting their liquor and women, and the night fires going out, and the lack of shelters, and the cities hostile and the towns unfriendly, and the villages dirty and charging high prices. A hard time we had of it. At the end, we preferred to travel all night, sleeping in snatches, with the voices singing in our ears, saying this was all folly. Then at dawn, we came down to a temperate valley, wet below the snow line, smelling of vegetation, with a running stream and a watermill beating the darkness, and 3 trees on a low sky. And an old white horse galloped away in the meadow. Then we came to a tavern with vine leaves over the lintel, 6 hands at an open door, dicing for pieces of silver, and feet kicking the empty wineskin. But there was no information, and so we continued, and arrived at evening, not a moment too soon. Finding the place, it was, as you may say, satisfactory. All this was a long time ago, I remember. And I would do it again. But set down this, were we led all that way for birth or death? There was a birth, certainly. We had evidence and no doubt. I had seen birth and death, but had thought they were different. This birth was hard and bitter agony for us, like death, our death. We returned to our places, these kingdoms, but no longer at ease here, in the old dispensation, with an alien people clutching their gods. I I should be glad of another death.
So, the cradle. The cradle is a symbol of new beginnings, of the love binding parents and children. Babies were also born in 2020. We had some awful things happen, but there were many, many of these new beginnings. And these children were born in an upset and changing world. Their parents worried more about them than they might have in any other year. 2020 shone a spotlight on parts of America where families were more vulnerable to the illness, death, and poverty that COVID-19 brought it. We take a moment now to honor the babies born in a tumultuous time. So giving birth is hard, as those who have participated in such an event can attest. But there is also profound joy and profound changes that come with the process. So let us turn our attention now to the cradle, the symbol of birth. Let the cradle be present to us, and let us be present to whatever you would give birth to this year, especially in ourselves, to start the process of manifesting your hopes, to begin to realize the potential with which you were born. A chance to move toward growth, to let your energies run like a stream, to find where the channels of your life are leading, to strengthen the spirit that urges you forward, to fill yourself with courage for whatever will require courage in you, to seek the light of a new day, to stretch into tomorrow, to invite something new to begin in you. And remember that the process of giving birth is also a painful process, but the long-term fruit is a lighter, healthier way of being in the world. We begin the process of birthing with silence. Take a moment to reflect on what you would give birth to, remembering that this is a chance to welcome the future. Write down a few words or a sentence that describes it. So now there's the matter of what to do with what we have set forth into the universe, what we would like to do with our intentions, what we are seeing made manifest, what we sense is coming, or what we would desire to have to give birth to, what we're willing to work at. So I invite you to put your new baby where you can see it, on your mirror, in your notebook, on your calendar if you use paper, but find a way to steadily remind yourself of what you would like to give birth to. What are you letting go of? And what are you giving birth to? We are so grateful to be accompanying you on this journey and to have you as good company for us on ours. Thank you for sharing yourself in the Eliot Chapel community. Let us be a blessing to one another in the new year. Amen.
May this be a year of love and kindness. May strangers come to be friends. May truth and compassion always guide us. Amen. May this be a year of hope and healing for all of those in need. May all of our deeds be a blessing. Amen. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. May this be a year of selfless giving. May this be a year of peace. And may we forgive and be forgiven. Amen. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. Closer to the ones we love. A world that we can be proud of. Lord, as there are stars above, there comes a new year.
Now may the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Go in peace.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. We two have run about the braes and picked the daisies fine, but we've wandered many a weary foot since Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. We two have paddled in the burn from morning sun till dime, but seas between us broad have roared since Auld Lang Syne. For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne, for Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old